Hello everyone, I'm Michael, and today, I'm going to tell you a story. Guys, what is a big turn-off that girls still think is sexy? Story 1. My ex's attitude would flip on a dime if I said the wrong thing or even worded a sentence in a way that she didn't like, and she would get pissed and shut down and refuse to talk. She always defended it as well. I'm a bad BTCH, deal with it, and I guess there's a reason all my friends and family didn't like her and thought she was extremely manipulative. I'm still grappling with the amount of mental damage she pulled on me. Story 2. This is how my sister is to my whole family. Indifferent, smug, rude. Only respectful when she wants or needs something from you. Occasionally, she'll be kind without ulterior motives, but it's probably about 10% of the total time she is nice to us. She explains it by saying she's independent and in her boss beach era. Funny thing is, she manages to be so kind and fun to anyone she doesn't know well. But once she knows you well, she seems to think respect and kindness is no longer needed. But God forbid you do anything she perceived as disrespectful. Ask her if she's ready to go 10 minutes after she said she would be ready to leave. Well, suddenly she's going to call you every name under the sun and shove you into the wall. Try to ask about some health product. You know, she is interested in to make conversation before she's decided she feels like talking, the time of which changes every single day, and she expects us to know when she's ready to talk without ever communicating with us that she's ready to talk now. Well, now she's saying that your genetic disability that affects your literal cells is actually your fault, and that if you didn't want to be sick, you wouldn't be sick. But she's just in her boss beach era, so apparently, it's totally fine if she does this. She's not a teenager either. She's in her mid-20s, quit a really good job that she was actually up for a promotion, moved back in with my parents, lives here rent-free, takes my parents' cars she is not insured on without permission, or even telling them she's taking it, and has not done anything to find work in the 8 months she has been here. Yet somehow, she always guilts my parents into letting her stay another month, or she'll do what she did last time they made her move out. She didn't talk to them for a year. Story 3. Even after 23 years, my wife has a hard time just saying what she wants. I figured out it was because with her family, if she recommended a restaurant or something like that, and it turned out it wasn't very good, they would make fun of her for it. So now, she'll never say what she wants. Story 4. Last year, I started dating this guy. We had only been dating for a couple of weeks. Literally 2 weeks, I think. And one day, when I was over to his house, he told me he cheated on me out of the blue. So I just grabbed my things, told him to fuck himself, and went to my house. Didn't text him again. A couple days later, he called me screaming that if I had no interest in him, I could have just said that, and that he told me he cheated just to see if I really loved him. We had dated for 2 weeks. That guy was crazy. Story 5. I had a girl do this to me, and my reaction was, well, I'm going to head out. You seem to have found something that interests you. Have a good evening. This was a girl I'd been dating for a few weeks. She flipped shit as I walked away. She ran after my ass. I wanted nothing to do with it. Added, while this got more attention than I thought it would, also seems to have polarized responses. Some think I'm the worst, and others totally agree with my actions. This might shed some light on the situation. We had rules that we agreed to. I'd never done this before, so I really wanted to make sure no one got hurt. We agreed we were just friends. We wouldn't sleep with or date anyone else without telling the other. The thought behind this was to not expose each other to STDs and not have to compete for attention. Both of us were sick of the dating scene drama, but still wanted our physical needs met, and we got along well enough. I was already close to being done with the situation because the week before, which was New Year's, she seemingly ditched me. We had plans to go to a party and stay in a hotel. Well, she never showed, and I went to the party solo. Called her a few times, got no answer. Then, the next morning, all her friends were calling me asking where she was. And I mean frantically calling me. Like missing person calling me. It was super weird. Her excuse was she wasn't feeling well, although it felt like something else was up. Story kept changing. It's not like I banged her that night and showed her the door. We had breakfast, and I told her this wasn't working. She mainly agreed and said this arrangement wasn't working for her either. So, it wasn't as harsh as it seemed in my post. I just didn't anticipate so much attention, so I didn't elaborate. Story 6. When Pokemon Go was at its peak in popularity, I was out with a girl I had been seeing and she started flirting with a guy we were hanging out with. And I was like, okay, cool, have fun with that shit, and turned around and headed to my truck. She chased after me telling me she was only into me and she just wanted to get more of my attention. I was literally walking around collecting Pokemon at 31 at 11 p.m. just to hang out with her. Who's got time for that shit? Story 7. Had an ex bragging about how she could have cheated on me that day and how I should be glad she didn't. My answer was that she shouldn't have lost the opportunity because I was breaking up with her. She cried a lot. I didn't give a fuck. Edit. Based on the upvotes, I'll add what happened later with her, and although she was a bitch, I don't think she deserved what happened next. But she worked hard enough to receive it. She started dating the guy that she could have used to cheat on me. He was an abusive asshole and tried to kill himself when she broke up with him later and said it was her fault. After they broke up, she started dating another guy, which was briefly my friend years ago. He cheated on my ex multiple times, but they kept together for 2 years. I only know all of this because a friend kept me updated even after I said I didn't care. Story 8. One of the most intelligent women I used to know, a friend of my sister. For the first 5 years, I knew this girl. I thought she was a complete idiot. Made me wonder why my sister even hung out with her. Then she got engaged and, this was news to me, gave up on me, so the act dropped. Funny thing was that more intelligent person I got to know was far more interesting to me than the dumbass I thought she was. But as long as she played dumb, she never had a chance with me. Story 9. There was a dude in my social circle who would completely change when we had women come around. Dude would start tearing into all of us to get a laugh. One time this notoriously beautiful girl and her friends came around and my buddy had a gigantic crush on her. Douchebag comes out of the bathroom, points right at my buddy, and says, "Jesus dude, that shit you took in the bathroom was freaking foul." We stopped inviting him to things after that and he could not understand why. Story 10. My husband couldn't stand my best friend. I had to explain to him that she is really smart and just pretends to be dumb when she first meets men, so they will like her. I actually really loved that this was something my husband found unattractive, and it's so great to read with your comment that other men not only don't find women dumbing themselves down attractive, but do not believe that these women are actually not intelligent when they are accountants and such. Story 11. I don't currently experience this, but my bro got in a relationship with this girl that does this. There's obviously a time and a place for it to make it work. This girl, however, would attempt to use her baby voice to get what she wants out of him, make him feel regret, or to push back something. One time us bros and said girl would be hanging out for Thanksgiving and she just insists that he eat this turkey leg she roasted. He said no, it was a bit big too, but the guy was clearly not hungry. Then she goes, "You hate me," in her baby voice over and over again, trying really hard to eat the turkey leg. It was repetitive at first, and she'll do it again throughout the night from time to time. Eventually us bros just stopped acknowledging her presence, and just focused our attention to our enjoying our Harry Potter movie binge for the occasion. Story 12. Went to this bar with a friend and after a friendly tequila shots competition went home with this hot chick 5 years older than me. I was 18, she was 23. She said I looked older, so I told her problem solved, instead of fuck. We both passed out when I woke up at 3:20 a.m. The room smelled different. 1 inch from my leg there was a huge pool of diarrhea. I moved so carefully. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had nothing on me, and with my clothes under my arm dipped and dressed up, only once I made it out on the streets, aided by a lamppost. My dad had called just a tad earlier, concerned about my whereabouts. I called him back and told him what happened. Story 13. I'm a guy in my early 40s. The Botox and fillers. Not fooling a soul. Love a good skincare routine and someone who knows their way around makeup. But those subtle, beautiful lines as you get older tell me you face down life and can still smile at me with a cocktail in hand from across the table on our first date. That's sexy. Story 14. I was in a very bad situation last year where I got berated, verbally and physically abused by the person I was cohabiting with at the time for having a BA in comparative literature from one of the top public universities in the country. He dropped out of high school and eventually got his diploma from a conservation corps school. All he did was call off on his temp jobs due to hangovers. would get drunk instead of going to his temp work, then say, I'm a useless, college-educated woman. I'm very, very lucky my so enjoys intellectual discussions, and we both are on each other's level. Never had to hide around him. Story 15. There's a girl at work like this. She's an accountant, so she's clearly smart, but she plays up the I'm just a clueless ditz who can't even turn the printer on, tee-hee thing to the hilt, and it drives me crazy. Men love intelligent, pretty women. You don't need to act like an utter moron to be attractive to us. Story 16. This is funny. I had a friend who became a complete ass when she was flirting with a guy. My other friends and I literally couldn't be near her, it was so painfully annoying. She's married now, but we'll still take the piss out of her occasionally about those times. It is very cringe when someone changes their whole persona when flirting, especially if they act dumb or baby-like. Story 17. In our friends group, we got a couple who are like this. Before she got her ass cussed out by everyone at different times, she's a bitch. She always flirted with one of the other husbands. So her at the time boyfriend tried flirting with me in front of her. I looked him dead in the face and said, don't bring me into your flirting bullshit. I'm with my man, and walked away from it. That couple got married, and no one likes her.